I got my new job in Mistwood City. I was happy to be a teacher at the city's best school. I loved when people called me Professor Aiden Jones. When the summer holidays started, I decided to explore the city. I had heard a lot about Mistwood Beach. So I made up my mind to visit the beach. Early in the morning, I dressed in my casual clothes and headed towards the beach. It was not at all crowded. Very few people were there. But my eyes noticed a girl sitting on a bench. The girl looked very strange because she was wearing a hoodie. I didn't know why, but I was very curious. So, I went near her and sat on a bench beside her bench. I could hear that she was crying. I stood up and went closer to her. "Miss, is everything okay? Is there anything I can help you with?" I asked her. She lifted her hoodie. I could see her face. Her eyes were full of tears. But she looked very beautiful. "No, nothing," she replied. I didn't say anything more. But I noticed something very unusual. Her fingers were covered with soil. After a walk, I went back home. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was just thinking about that mystery girl. Who was she? Why was she crying? Why were her fingers covered with soil? I decided to forget all of that. The next morning, I decided to go to the beach again. I was hoping to see the girl. And I was very lucky. I saw her. She was sitting on the same bench. She was wearing the same hoodie. I sat on the bench next to hers. I could hear that she was crying. And her fingers were covered with soil. She was looking at the sea and crying. I wanted to go near her, but I couldn't. That day, I couldn't sleep at all. The whole night, I just thought about her. Then, finally, I decided to talk to her. The next morning, I went to the beach. She was sitting on the bench, wearing the same hoodie. Her fingers were dirty. I gathered my courage and went toward her. "Excuse me. I am sorry to disturb you, but I couldn't control myself anymore. Every time I come to the beach, I see you crying. Is there anything I can help you with?" I said. She lifted her hoodie. I could see her pretty face. She wiped her tears and said, "No, I don't need any help. I had lost someone very close to my heart." Saying that, she again burst into tears. I took out my handkerchief and gave it to her. "Look, I understand how difficult it must have been for you. But you need to move on. That's how life goes. If you need anyone to talk to, I am here. You can trust me," I said. She looked into my eyes. Then suddenly she hugged me and started crying. "I am not a bad person. I didn't want that to happen. No one will believe me. I am all alone." "Shoo, calm down. You are not alone. I can help you. Stop crying and tell me what has happened, I said. She looked at me like a frightened cat. She opened her eyes and put her hands on her mouth. I understood that she instantly regretted telling me. I need to go back home. Just forget whatever I said. I am not well these days, so I say anything, she said. She stood up and started walking. She couldn't walk properly. I supported her with my hands and said, "Let me walk you. You shouldn't go alone in this condition." She agreed and smiled at me. I live in the apartment across the road. Thank you for helping me, she said. She held my hand for support. She told me that her name was Ramona. I told her my name. I didn't want to talk about anything that might upset her, so I told her about my school. I told her some funny stories about my students. She laughed very much. And then we reached her apartment. Thank you, Aiden. You helped me a lot today. I haven't laughed in so many days. But you made me laugh. You are a nice guy. I hope to see you again, she said, smiling. No worries. I am glad you are happy now. If you don't mind, can we meet tomorrow again at the beach? And after that, can we have coffee together? I asked. Okay, I'll wait for you, she said. We said our goodbyes, and then something very unexpected happened. She kissed me on the cheeks. I was shocked. Sitting in my room, I just thought about Ramona. I was feeling attracted to her. Was she feeling the same? But why did she say that she wasn't a bad person? Had she done something wrong? The next day, we met at the beach and spent quality time with each other. We went to a coffee shop and talked a lot. I was very happy with her. She also seemed to be happy with me. For 2 weeks, we met each other every day. I was in love with her. She, too, looked into my eyes with so much love. I wanted to confess my feelings for her. But something stopped me. She didn't trust me because she never told me about the person she had lost. All these questions remained in my mind. And I was lucky again. One day, when I dropped Ramona off at her apartment, an old lady stopped me. She told me that she was her landlady. "Hello, son, are you Ramona's boyfriend?" she asked me. "No, we are just friends," I replied, a bit shocked. So you might know where she goes every morning?" she said. "Yes, she goes to the beach sometimes," I replied. "No, I am not talking about that. Every morning, before going to the beach, she goes somewhere. She wears a strange black hoodie. I have asked her many times, but she never tells me anything. I find this very strange. Is your friend a psycho?" she said. "No, ma'am. I can confirm that she's not a psycho. But I don't know where she goes every morning," I replied. "Okay, son, good evening," she said. Good evening, ma'am, I replied. I was very confused. Who is Ramona? What has she done? I needed to know all these answers. And the only way to do that was to follow her in the morning. That day, I waited outside the apartment. At around 6 a.m., Ramona came out. She was wearing her black hoodie. She looked carefully at the road. Then she started to walk very quickly. I followed her. She didn't realize that I was behind her. Then we reached a place that I never thought Ramona would come to. She went into a cemetery. I hid myself behind a tree. She went to a grave. She took a flower and a letter from her pocket. She buried the letter and planted the flower. I understood why she had her fingers covered with soil. Then she cried a lot. I couldn't hear what she was saying. After some time, she wiped her face and came out of the cemetery. I waited for a few minutes. Then I went to the grave. But I was surprised. The grave had a wooden headstone. And there was no name. This mystery was getting more complicated. Then I decided to dig and take out the letter. But I started digging, and I found many letters. I took them and went straight home. After arriving at my home, I opened a letter and read it. Dear Eva, I beg your forgiveness. You know how much I love you. I never wanted that to happen. You are my little sister. I never even thought of hurting you. But that day, out of my anger, I pushed you. I thought you were joking and acting as if you were drowning. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. And every letter had a similar kind of story. But even after reading that letter, I couldn't understand why Ramona killed her sister. I wanted to know everything. I went to her apartment, but she was not there. I knew I would find her at the beach. She was there, looking at the beach and crying. I went near her and said, Ramona, I know your secret. She panicked and said, What secret? What are you talking about? I know you killed your sister. You pushed her, and she drowned in this sea. But why did you do that? I said it angrily. What? What are you talking about? Have you lost your senses? I have not killed anyone, she said, shaking with fear. Don't lie, Ramona. I have read all your letters. I thought you trusted me. I thought you were a nice girl. But you are a liar and a killer, I said. Aiden, I am not a killer. It was an accident, I swear. Please look into my eyes. You love me. Right? I know you love me. Please don't tell this to anyone or I'll go to prison, she said, crying. I looked into her eyes. And I lost myself. It was true that I loved her. Okay, I promise. I won't tell anyone. But you have to tell me the complete truth, I said calmly. Then we sat down, and she explained the whole story. Ramona and Eva were orphans. They lost their parents and decided to shift to Mistwood. Their father left them a lot of money. Ramona had a boyfriend named Patrick. She was deeply in love with her. Life was going well until she found something shocking. One day, Eva and Patrick were together on the Mistwood beach. Ramona arrived at the beach and saw something heartbreaking. Eva and Patrick were holding each other's hands. They were very close. They were dating each other. Ramona was shocked to know that Patrick cheated on her with her sister. She got into an ugly argument with both of them. And at last, Patrick confronted her by saying that he loved Eva and wanted to spend his life with her. After saying those words, he left in his car. Ramona, who was furious, started to fight with Eva. And during the fight, she pushed Eva into the sea. Eva shouted for help. But Ramona thought she was joking, as Eva was a good swimmer. Ramona left the beach. And poor Eva died that day. The next day, Ramona heard that a dead body had been found in the sea. But it was unrecognizable as it was eaten up by the sea animals. The leftover body parts were buried at the cemetery. It was then that Ramona understood that she had killed her sister. Ramona wore Eva's black hoodie and went to the cemetery every day. I have told you the truth. I beg you, please don't tell this to anyone. I love you, Aiden, she said, looking into my eyes. I love you too, Ramona. I promise to protect you, I said. Then we smiled at each other and hugged. Then suddenly we heard a voice say, "Oh, finally, you have found a boyfriend, Ramona." We turned around to look. And in front of us was a girl. Ramona looked at her gapingly. And said, "Eva, you are alive. Is that really you?" She went forward and hugged her sister. Eva was alive. "Eva, I am so sorry I pushed you. But where have you been all these days? I thought I had killed you." "I was going mad," Ramona said. "Killed me? Are you joking? I am such a good swimmer." "I was just acting that day," Eva said. "But then, where were you?" asked Ramona. "Oh, dear. You don't know anything. I was on my honeymoon with my husband, Patrick. That day, I and Patrick decided to marry," Eva said proudly. "What marriage? What honeymoon? Are you kidding me, Eva? I went crazy thinking that I had killed you. And you were having fun with my boyfriend." "I wish you died, you idiot," said Ramona angrily. "He's not your boyfriend. He's my husband." "You are just the same as you were before," Eva replied and went away. Ramona started to cry. I went to console her. Obviously, she went through a lot. It was such a strange day. I dropped Ramona off at her apartment. The next day, I went to meet her. But the landlady told me that Ramona had left the apartment. She also gave me a letter that Ramona wrote for me. I was very angry and hurt. I did so much for Ramona, and she left the city without even telling me. I opened the letter and read it. Dear Aiden, I know you are hurt. Maybe you'll even hate me after reading this letter. But you deserve to know the truth. I cannot play with your feelings. That day on the beach, we confessed our feelings to each other. I know you really love me. There's no doubt about that. But Aiden, I never loved you. I was afraid that you might tell the truth to anyone. So I acted like I was in love with you. Please forgive me. After all that happened here, I didn't want to stay here anymore. So the best decision was to leave Mistwood and you. I thought this would be easy for me. But no, it wasn't. I was thinking about you all night. We actually spend so much time with each other that I am attached to you. I didn't realize that. So I want you to give me a second chance. I won't lie, I do have feelings for you. I will text you my new address. I want to start a new relationship with you. I want to know you better and spend my life with you. Waiting for your reply. Ramona. After reading this letter, I knew what I wanted. I wanted her so badly. 3 months passed. Every weekend, I went to meet Ramona. We spent quality time with each other. Now she was in love with me for real. But I cannot stay away from her. So, I am going to propose to her this Sunday. After listening to my whole story, do you think she'll accept my proposal? The answer is easy. Right?